My gold digger fiancée sent me a prenup that would leave me broke while she kept everything. When I refused to sign, she texted me something unbelievable. So, I got a text that basically called off my wedding after 5 years together. I replied with, "Interesting," and then decided to sue for the $34,000 I'd spent on wedding deposits. Her lawyer couldn't pick up a phone fast enough when they got the court papers. Before we dive into all the details, I need to ask for your help. Our channel has been slowing down a bit, and subscribing is one of the easiest and free ways to support us. It helps us keep bringing you awesome content, which means the world to us. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's get into it. I'm a 33-year-old guy, and honestly, I used to think people who posted their drama online needed therapy more than an audience. But, here I am, typing this out for the world to see. Life's funny like that. I've been carrying around this hot mess of a situation for months, so why not let strangers enjoy the show? I was engaged to this girl, let's call her Amber, who's 31. We'd been together for 5 years in total, and engaged for about a year. We were supposed to get married in 3 months. Everything was ready, venue booked, caterer sorted, photographer hired, the works. I had fronted most of the deposits, about $34,000. At the time, it felt like no big deal because I was just so thrilled to marry the woman I loved. For most of our relationship, we were one of those couples that just clicked. We had this rhythm, filled with laughter over silly jokes and epic debates about movies. Amber would plan these amazing date nights, and I'd surprise her with her favorite takeout after tough days at work. It felt effortless, like we had love all figured out. We met at a friend's birthday party. I was helping set up the sound system, and she walked in with a cheesecake that could have been on a magazine cover. I was staring, probably drooling, and she walked up and said, "Don't worry, I'll save you the biggest piece." From that moment, I was hooked. We talked all night, exchanged numbers, and things just naturally flowed from there. Our first year was like a rom-com, couldn't keep our hands off each other, constantly texting. And that lovey-dovey phase? It just never stopped. Year 2, still all over each other. Year 3, 4, same thing. Eventually, it seemed natural for her to move in after year 3. There was no crazy ex drama, no psycho behavior, just breakfast together and Netflix arguments. But about 6 months ago, things got weird. Not like flashing red lights weird, more like a creepy feeling you get when you're home alone and hear a noise. Suddenly, Amber, who had nothing to hide, slapped a password on her phone. Weird networking events started popping up that she couldn't explain. And she suddenly got really interested in my finances, asking about my 401k and investment accounts. Meanwhile, if I even glanced at her credit card statements, which were maxed out, she'd flip out. I made a joke one day, "What are you, a secret spy now?" She laughed and said, "No, work's just been emailing me a lot." But then she put a password on her phone, which was new. Calls started coming in, and she'd step out to take them, saying it was just a friend from work. She started keeping her phone face down, which I didn't think was a thing until she moved it away quickly when I reached over one day. I seriously thought I was losing my mind, like I was becoming a pathetic, jealous boyfriend. But my gut kept telling me something was off. Then there's Amber's mom, Diane. This woman is intense, like a helicopter parent mixed with a drill sergeant. At first, I thought it was normal protective mom stuff, grilling me about everything. Amber had warned me her parents were selective, but they seemed to tolerate me. Her dad, Greg, was the opposite, quiet and glued to the TV, probably because dealing with Diane wasn't worth the fight. But lately, Diane upgraded to full-on nightmare mode. During our Sunday dinners from hell, she'd say things like, "Travis needs to add you to the house deed before the wedding," right in front of me. It's my house, which I bought with my own money before Amber was even around, but sure, let's just hand over half because Diane thinks her daughter deserves it. Diane would corner me at family BBQs, questioning my salary and suggesting I consider a job at a friend's company for better benefits. Meanwhile, Greg just sipped his drink, totally checked out. With all these red flags, I took some precautions. Moved savings to a separate account, made copies of financial statements, and changed my investment passwords. I felt paranoid, but something felt off. Then suddenly, Amber got obsessed with launching a luxury candle business. She became an expert on wax blends and fragrance oils overnight, leaving Pinterest boards open with pictures of million-dollar candle empires. We just needed about. So, Amber casually mentioned needing $50,000 for starting inventory and marketing as if it was no big deal, but I couldn't help but feel like, since when is this my issue? I've always had her back, like when she switched careers from marketing to PR a couple of years ago, I was all in. Even last year, When she wanted to take that pricey digital branding course, I pushed her to do it. But this candle business idea? Totally out of left field. She didn't make it sound like her dream, more like our retirement plan. I'm not sure, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's just pre-wedding nerves. Or maybe I'm being a jerk for not totally backing her dreams. Honestly, I'm usually not one to jump to conclusions. We've been solid for 5 years, ups and downs for sure, but nothing that screamed trouble to me. But that uneasy feeling just wouldn't go away. One night, Amber said she had a dinner with potential investors. Something about her dressed up look and extra perfume didn't scream business meeting to me. As she got ready, my gut was telling me something was off. I casually asked who this investor was. She just said, someone from my network, not meeting my gaze, and added that he had connections to boutique retailers. He caught my attention. Not my proudest moment, but I followed her, not trying to catch her in anything shady, just trying to figure out what was going on. I parked down the street from this fancy restaurant and watched through the window as she sat at a corner table, partially hidden. I could barely make out the profile of a guy with dark hair and a nice suit. What hit me was how Amber kept switching gears, all professional one moment, then leaning in with this flirty vibe, laughing a little too much, and doing that thing with her necklace when she wants to impress. At one point, she reached across the table for something, maybe a document, maybe not. Nothing obviously wrong happened, no kissing or hand-holding, just weird vibes that didn't match the important investor meeting story she gave. Before dinner ended, I headed home, feeling silly for being suspicious. Maybe it really was just business, and I was making something out of nothing. But that nagging feeling wouldn't quit. Then, the next night, Amber's whole vibe was different, made my favorite meal, wore that black dress I love, kept being all touchy-feely. A total switch from her recent distance. She suddenly brings up us being business partners as she opens her laptop with all these business slides. She drops the let's set up a business account after the wedding bomb, asking for $60,000 to kick off her luxury candle line. It all felt so calculated, dinner, dress, affection, all tied to her needing my money. Why suddenly the candle business? Why after the wedding? She brushed it off as timing, then changed the subject to some show she wanted to watch. I let it go, but that night, I couldn't sleep, replaying the whole convo. And then, bam! An email from Goldstein Myers and Associates Family Law, a prenup from Amber's lawyer, not her. I didn't even know she had a lawyer. The document was jaw-dropping. It wasn't your typical prenup, it was sneaky, almost predatory. My stuff stays mine, her stuff and her $27,000 in debt stay hers, all normal. But then, anything we make during marriage would be her separate property if we split. My income, investments, all of it. I'd have to fund her business ventures, candles included, or be in breach of marital duty. I read it over and over, my stomach in knots. I'm not one to assume the worst, but this was impossible to ignore. The candle biz, secret dinners, her mom's fishy questions, it was like I was being set up as her financial exit plan. Marry me, then drain my accounts for her startup, and take off with her shiny new guy. I called my lawyer immediately. After he read it, he was speechless. Then he said, "This prenup's the worst I've ever seen. Don't you dare sign it." He shot back a firm no-way response. That night, Amber texted, "My parents want to chat about wedding details over dinner tonight." I almost bailed, wanting to dodge the confrontation. But I couldn't chuck it, I had to see how deep this went. At dinner, before even getting a bite, Amber's mom Diane started in. "Amber said you got the prenup." I nodded, stomach in knots, keeping my face neutral, waiting to see where this was going. Diane tried to spin it like, it's just smart, like car insurance. Amber chimed in, "My sister and her husband did one." I finally spoke up, "Is it standard to keep all marital assets separate or make business funding a marital obligation?" Diane's face tightened. "Well, Travis, Amber will be making sacrifices for." So, you know how it goes with marriage and careers, right? The idea that once you have kids, her career might take a backseat, it's just supposed to be about keeping her protected. But let's be real, this isn't protection, it's more like being financially trapped. I kept calm even though I was fuming inside when Diane finally dropped her nice act. Her fake smile disappeared, and she gave me a look that felt like it could freeze the whole room. She leaned in, nails digging into the tablecloth, and said, "Let me be very clear, if you don't sign this prenup, there's no wedding. Period." Amber tried to say something like, "Mom," but Diane cut her off, saying I needed to hear this. According to Diane, there's no way Amber's stepping into marriage without a safety net, and if I walk away, I shouldn't expect any refunds for what I already spent. It was as if I was some dirt on her fancy shoes. She even hinted that Amber could easily find someone more agreeable. All those family dinners, 5 years of fake smiles, it was all just a show, waiting for the right moment to come down on me. Amber looked at me and said with this fake sweetness that gave me chills, "Travis, this isn't a big deal. I don't get why you're being so difficult. It's just a piece of paper that's supposed to protect both of us." I asked how it protected me since it looked like I'd get the short end of the stick. She rolled her eyes and said I was exaggerating, adding that if I really loved her, I'd want her to feel secure, trying to twist it like I was hiding something. Diane chimed in, acting all high and mighty, saying that real love means signing, hinting that her husband Greg signed a similar deal. Greg mumbled something unintelligible, but his defeated expression said a lot about living under Diane's thumb for over 30 years. Amber dropped her sweet facade and accused me of hiding something, like our plans for a future together were just talk. I looked at her, realizing maybe the woman I thought I knew never really existed. Diane jumped back in, making it clear she never thought I was good enough for Amber. My job was okay, but Amber deserved someone ambitious, someone who realized her worth. Amber just nodded along like they'd discussed this behind my back numerous times. Diane even criticized my house and hinted I should have upgraded with their help. I finally spoke up, disputing their narrative about my job achievements. I earned everything through my own hard work. As my anger simmered, I stood up to leave. Amber tried to stop me, demanding to know where I was going. Diane threatened that if I didn't sign, the wedding was off, and she'd ruin my reputation. I laughed, surprising them both. I told Diane that her intimidation tactics wouldn't work on me and walked out, realizing I didn't know Amber at all, despite our 5 years together. Days passed, and Amber texted, claiming my lawyer's response showed I didn't trust her, so the wedding was off. I was staring at my phone, expecting to be heartbroken. Instead, I felt clarity. This wasn't about love, it was about the money. They wanted me to add Amber's name to my house and keep my $34,000 in wedding deposits. No way was I letting that slide. I contacted my lawyer to get back everything I'd spent. Their counteroffer? A measly $8,000. So, in a kind of goodwill move, my lawyer didn't even bother to respond directly to their nonsense. He just repeated our demand for the whole amount. Then the family started trying to get involved. Amber's mom called my folks, all upset, saying I'd broken Amber's heart and was being greedy over a little bit of money. Amber's sister even texted me, saying that my haggling over cash meant I never really loved Amber. The crazy thing was that they were accusing me of being obsessed with money. It was almost laughable. 2 weeks later, they upped the offer to $15,000. "They're testing your resolve," my lawyer told me. "Stand firm." So I did, because by then it wasn't even about the money for me. It was the principle of it all. They tried to screw me with that prenup and then wanted to pocket half my deposits. No way was I letting that fly. After another week of back and forth legal stuff, they came back with a final offer of $22,000. Her lawyer acted like they were doing me a favor. But it still wasn't enough. I told my lawyer, I want every penny back. He warned me that litigation would cost more than the difference, but I didn't care. They weren't winning, not even a little bit. Around that time, Amber showed up at my place, tears streaming, saying, "This is all a misunderstanding." Her voice was shaky. "My mom just wanted to protect me. Let's just write a new prenup together." That's when I suddenly remembered seeing her at a restaurant. "Who's that guy from the restaurant, Amber?" Her face got pale. "The investor you had dinner with last week?" I asked. "That was just a business contact." "I can't believe you followed me, that's psycho behavior," she shot back. I didn't say a word. It was shocking how she flipped. 1 second, she was the vulnerable fiancée I knew, and the next, she was a completely different person, hostile, her eyes full of contempt. She started pacing around my living room like she owned the place. "You know what's really funny?" she sneered. "My mom was right about you. She said you'd never be able to provide the lifestyle I deserve. Said you were too small time." That stung, not because it was true, but because it showed they'd been judging me based on my paycheck all along. "And now you're suing me over wedding deposits?" She laughed, but it was a different kind of laugh. "Do you even know who my family knows in this town? One call, and your career's toast." She genuinely thought she deserved to keep the money and own my future. "You should leave," I told her quietly. "You're making a huge mistake," she replied, voice icy. "You have no idea what you're throwing away." "I think I do," I said. "No, you don't," she hissed, "because when I'm done, you'll be lucky to get a job flipping burgers in this town. My family doesn't like being disrespected, especially by someone who should be thanking us for even considering letting him into our world." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Last chance, Travis. Drop this dumb lawsuit, sign the prenup, and maybe I'll convince my mom to give you another shot. The audacity left me speechless. She was acting like she was doing me a huge favor by marrying me. Goodbye, Amber, I said, and she stormed out, slamming the door. I sat there, realizing the woman I thought I loved was never real. She was just a mask Amber wore until she didn't need it anymore. The next few weeks were intense. When they failed to meet our last deadline at $22,000, my lawyer filed a suit in county court. The court date was set, depositions scheduled. My lawyer even mentioned we'd be asking for her phone records as evidence. They thought they could push me around, empty my bank account, and walk away. I wasn't letting that happen. 3 days after getting served, her lawyer suddenly wanted to talk settlement options. Funny how their attitude shifted when they knew I was serious. The full $34,200, plus our $850 in legal fees, showed up in my account the next day, no further negotiations needed. I couldn't believe it was finally over. After months, it all ended with a bank transfer. I sat on my couch that night, sipping a soda, feeling a weird mix of relief and emptiness. I'd technically won, but it felt like I'd lost something, my trust, my faith in my own judgment, maybe even some optimism. But that's not even the craziest part. About a week after the settlement, I got a call from a mutual friend who was always closer to Amber than me. She felt bad for staying quiet and wanted me to know what was really up. Turns out, the business contact was actually her boss's son, who dumped her once he realized she wasn't getting any of my money. They'd been seeing each other for months. He even suggested Amber secure her future financially before making any big moves. Basically, he was coaching her through the whole deal. My friend sent me screenshots of old conversations between Amber and her, and reading them made my blood boil. Travis is such a pushover, lol, Amber wrote. He actually believes I want to start a candle business. Her friend replied with laughing emojis and asked, but what if he doesn't sign the prenup? Amber responded with, oh, he will. Mom's on it. He's so desperate for a real family, he'll sign anything if we push him enough. And if not, whatever, I've already got my eye on an upgrade. I was just a stepping stone to her, something to be used and tossed aside when a better option popped up. And get this, when Greg, her dad, finally saw the prenup during the legal stuff, he flipped out. He apparently had no clue what Diane and Amber were planning. All those silent dinners? He wasn't just checked out, he was totally in the dark. A mutual friend said Greg told them seeing the prenup was like a mirror. He realized Diane had been doing the same manipulative stuff to him for years. Greg had signed a similar document before their wedding, thinking it was just a formality, and it slowly transferred all his assets to Diane, leaving him financially dependent despite being the primary breadwinner. He was trapped, unable to leave because he'd have nothing if he did. Man, Greg looked like he'd seen a ghost when he found out what they were trying to pull on you, my buddy told me. He kept going on about, they're at it again, doing to him what she pulled on me. But hey, I wasn't a dummy like Greg. They messed with the wrong guy. After being married for 33 years, Greg finally called it quits last month. The last straw wasn't just Diane scheming with Amber, it was discovering they'd been draining money from his retirement accounts into some secret fund only Diane could touch. He didn't even know about it until the divorce paperwork hit the table. You should have seen Diane's face when her lawyer broke the news about the divorce, my friend said with a smug grin. She was yelling that Greg couldn't leave her, that he had no right after all she'd done for him. When he didn't back down, she even threatened to wreck his relationship with their kids if he went through with it. Talk about entitlement, she really thought Greg was just there to bankroll her lifestyle. The idea of him being independent was like, totally alien to her. Word got around their social circle faster than a cat video goes viral. Diane tried to turn their friends against Greg, spreading rumors about him having a midlife crisis and being mentally unstable. But since the whole prenup drama with me had already raised eyebrows, no one was buying it anymore. It was like watching a row of dominoes topple, first the wedding, then Amber's fling with her boss's son, then her parents' marriage, all because they tried to screw me over with that prenup. I could have felt bad, but honestly, it felt like karma was doing its thing. I didn't wish for any of this to go down, I just refused to be their pawn, and the rest unfolded on its own. The friend group split just like you'd expect, half bought Amber's story that I was a controlling, money-hiding jerk, sending me judgmental texts without ever hearing my side. The other half quietly reached out to say they always felt something was off with her. I remember one friend saying over lunch, you know, her mom gave me weird vibes too. Remember at your birthday when she kept grilling you about that promotion? Thought she was just nosy, but now it all makes sense. Not gonna lie, The whole mess messed me up for a while. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner, but also relieved I caught it before saying I do. I kept replaying conversations in my head, looking for missed red flags. It's hard not to question your own judgment after something like this. Did I ignore warning signs? Was I just naive? Those thoughts kept me up at night, but they disappeared when I bumped into Greg at a coffee shop one random Wednesday. He looked different, lighter, like a weight had been lifted. He came over to my table and said, "I owe you an apology. I should have spoken up at that dinner. I knew it wasn't right what they were doing." I shrugged it off, understanding he'd been in a tight spot for 33 years. "But not anymore," he added with a sad smile. He'd moved into a small apartment, bought a motorcycle, and was dating a kindergarten teacher he met at an art class at the community center. "Diane hates her," he chuckled, "says she's too simple, whatever that means. But she actually listens to me, asks what I think. It's..." He paused, searching for the word, "peaceful." Greg leaned in like he was about to share a national secret. "When Diane got served, she showed up at my place in the middle of the night, banging on the door, screaming that I owed her for wasting her life with me. She called the cops and claimed my car was stolen, my car that I paid for. When they showed up, she tried to convince them I was mentally unstable and needed to be committed. Then she listed everything she'd supposedly given me over the years, like our marriage was a transaction where I defaulted. The worst part? Amber was right there backing her up, telling the cops I'd always been unstable. My own kid, man." He shook his head, sadness clouding his eyes. "Anyway," he said, shaking it off, "enough of this depressing crap. How are you holding up?" We chatted about nothing important, but it was nice seeing him come back to life. As we were leaving, he grabbed my arm. "Listen, Travis, I need you to know something. You didn't just dodge a bullet, you dodged a nuclear missile. What they tried to do to you," he shook his head, "would have torn you apart until you didn't recognize yourself. I know because that's what happened to me." He looked me square in the eye. "Don't ever doubt that you made the right call. No matter what anyone says, some people are just toxic, and you can't save them, only yourself." Hearing those words was a relief. As for Amber, she still posts those fake deep Instagram quotes about knowing your worth and not settling. Meanwhile, Diane's still running her mouth to whoever will listen, calling me a financial abuser of all things. It's almost laughable, like a sumo wrestler calling someone fat. I heard she tried starting another business, a wellness coaching gig that's just rehashed Instagram advice. It's not going well. Her boss's son has moved on to some yoga instructor now, according to mutual friends. Amber's been trying to paint herself as the victim, claiming I led her on for years and then bailed when it got serious. Last I heard, she tried taking her story to our local Facebook group, looking for support in her healing journey after being financially abused by her ex. The comments quickly filled up with people who knew us both, calling her out. The post vanished within hours. Me? I'm doing better than ever. That prenup was the best thing that ever happened to me, showing me who she really was before I made the biggest mistake of my life. I even took some of that $34,000 and went to Thailand for a month, temple hopping, beach days, food that was so spicy it could melt your face off. Best decision I ever made. It gave me perspective. I'm dating again, but being more careful this time. No family meet and greets until I really know someone. Sometimes those red flags are hidden until they're waving right in your face, and when they are, don't ignore them. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real life stories happening around you.